Hey everyone! Welcome to Make Your Peace, a 4YE podcast about Wynonna Earp. I'm Catherine Meushaw,
And I'm Lara Hayes.
and today we'll be discussing Season 2, Episode 9, Forever Mine Nevermind. But before we get into it, once again, I want to say a quick thank you for all of the feedback for the previous episodes we received, and we hope you continue to enjoy it. So, quick recap. Wynonna and Doc had a lengthy conversation/argument about the third seal in Doc's ring, and Doc ended up giving it to her after she promised not to break it until they had a plan, and she would break it right with him by her side. Waverly had what started as a girls' night, if you want, that kind of turned into an awkward moment with Rosita, and finding out that Tucker, who she thought was dead, was not actually dead, and kind of liked to go around killing people, because he killed Rosita, but it's okay, because Rosita's a revenant. And then the gang finally knows that Mercedes and Beth are not themselves, and that they had their faces stolen by the widows. So, let's get into it. All right. So a few big things happen. just a few. And I should have mentioned that big thing at the end, but I keep blocking it out because I don't want to think about the fact that, not Mercedes came after Nicole at the end of the episode. I keep like trying to not think about it.
We're going to talk about it.
I know we're going to talk about it, but it's Nicole, man.
I know.
So where do you want to start?
Well, why don't we talk about that episode title first, really fast? I thought it was just a really kind of ominous way to kick off the episode. Forever Mine Nevermind does not bode well. Nevermind is rarely a good thing. It spells out trouble right off the bat, and I really enjoyed that.
The episode titles have been great, and yeah, it's well, we're getting down to when stuff's gonna start picking up, when we're gonna get into like really heavy stuff. So yeah, I mean, it's a lot there in that title. It's and you wonder who the focus is on that title, like who to really hone in on as to why that's what makes you most nervous and with who.
And you're right. And then we get into the episode, and it's like, I think, honestly, like, that was probably the hardest part about watching this episode for me, was just the complete breakdown of communication on all levels. This title, the title applies to all of the pairings on this show, whether they're, currently canon or otherwise. No one was talking to the person they needed to, with the exception of Doc and Wynonna, but that was a hard-fought conversation for them. It did not come naturally. Doc and Rosita were ignoring the baby bump between them. Waverly and Nicole were talking at each other and not listening. Waverly was making not-so-subtle digs at Nicole. Dolls and Wynonna at the start of the episode were talking. Like, Dolls was trying to talk about the spooning in last week's episode, and Wynonna was not going there. Her mind was on other things.
Well, and her death. Like, he was trying to prompt her about that, too. Like.
Yeah, that. So it was just fail after fail to establish a healthy dialogue, it felt like. And it was just, it really kept you, like, in this suspended state of angst, because no one could connect the way you wanted them to, or the way they needed to.
And, now that you say that, and it's going to get me into something that I was expecting to get into a little bit sooner, or later, not sooner, a little bit later, but one of my biggest pet peeves is, like, that it falls under the drama for the sake of drama, and, when you have characters who just, like, who are just, like, straight up lying to each other. And there was a lot of that this episode. Like, Wynonna just straight up not telling Waverly about the third seal. Why? Why Wynonna? Waverly deciding that she's not going to tell, like, Wynonna about Rosita. And I have thoughts about that, but I'll get into it later, I think. And it's just, that's kind of a big pet peeve of mine. This, like, it's very forced drama, and it's frustrating when you've got that. Like, when it's just like, you just want to shake them and go, why are you keeping this from them? Like, just talk. So it's like, it was a little frustrating. And it's just like the number of times, like, Waverly accidentally spilled the beans about Doc and Wynonna having dinner, and it's like, well, Wynonna should have been able to tell Dolls that, and herself. Like, she should have owned up to it. And Doc should have been able to tell Rosita without it being a problem. Which, I mean, he did. He did say, I'm having dinner with Wynonna. But, like, Wynonna should have been able to say that to Dolls, because it, like, if she... So it just, I get frustrated, because it's gonna, like, cause issues. And it's like, all she had to say was, I want to talk to him about this thing. I'm gonna have dinner with him. Like, that's all she had to do. Because I'm sure it'll come up in some wonky way later.
To an extent, I agree with what you're saying. There was a little bit of turmoil for the sake of turmoil in this episode. I didn't feel that it was gratuitous. I think the reason that I didn't feel it was gratuitous was because we are coming up on the end of the season, and I expect a little bit more angst at this point. So I felt like they were, sort of setting the mood for that, because everything is going to be, so high stakes and so intense. But that's not me disagreeing with you. I do see what you're saying, and I don't think you're wrong. And that is essentially what I was saying. It was a difficult episode to watch, because you just weren't getting the right level of connection and communication, or even the level that you would expect on this show. So yeah, I agree.
And I know, yeah, I mean, it's episode 9 of 12. Like, it's not completely unexpected. It's just, like, it's a pet peeve of mine. For, like, because it's going to be a thing. And it's like, it doesn't have to be a thing, you guys. Like, why?
Well, and that's a bit of a plot device, too. You sort of fracture the group a little bit, and then you push them into, catastrophe, and everybody comes together, which is ultimately, I believe, what will happen. Everybody will get on the same page and work as a team, because they have to.
Yeah, definitely, and I agree with you. Like, it's definitely, it's a pet peeve of mine. So, yeah, I'm not too worried if people sort their stuff out. And it was just, this was not one of my favorite episodes in this season, or really in the series. It wasn't. I mean, I'm not saying it was a bad episode, but I'm just like, it was not one of my favorites. So it didn't help that we had the creepy doll.
Yeah, that doll was super creepy. I actually had a note on the painting, and I loved Bo Smith and Doc kind of like sizing each other up in the end. That was really cool. I loved that he was holding like the doll or a doll, and a doll would ultimately terrorize them and be the monster of the week. I thought that was really cool. But the painting that Doc buys, it reminds me of one of Andrew White's paintings, Christina's World, maybe his most famous. And I would love to know whether or not, like, the prop department kind of had that in mind, or whether or not they were modeling the painting after that work. It's considerably, their take is much more unsettling than the original, but woman laying in a field facing home, it's on, like the grass out in front of her and everything. They were similar images.
Okay. I'm not see, you just keep hitting me with things that aren't in my wheelhouse. I'm not an art person. I don't know a lot of different art, so I wasn't able to make that connection, but I like that. That'd be an interesting thing to know, what their inspiration was for that.
Yeah.
Save it and, pocket that away for if you ever get a chance to ask.
Yeah, that would be really cool. Although I don't know if I would have, I doubt that would be the thing that I would remember if I got the opportunity to ask Emily Andress a question. Like, that would not be like, so this painting, was it inspired by? I would probably just trip over myself and blush myself to death, I feel like.
Yeah, maybe it's just a tweet out to her or whoever. Yeah, that painting, I like how Doc brought it home. It was like, well, it was nicer in the store, basically.
I liked it too. I liked Wynonna's face looking at it because
Yeah.
I think that was actually another of my favorite moments that I had written down because when she unwraps it, Melanie, she can say so much without saying anything at all. And by the same token, she's just a master of making her face say like all the things her mouth is contradicting. And Tim also did a wonderful job, tasting that dinner she made them. It was just like, the two of them play off of each other so well, but that was one of the funniest moments of the episode for me, with her like staring at the painting and like pretending to like it.
Yeah, she's just like, oh, that's nice. Like, thanks, but maybe you shouldn't have. um,
No,
so
really,
yeah,
couldn't have.
yeah. See, Doc just brought in just a whole bunch of problems.
Yeah.
Creepy doll. That reminded me a lot of kind of Sid the Dummy's introduction in Buffy,
Word.
with how they did some of that. Just with like all the creepy noises and like the skittering almost, I guess you can call it, of like the dummy or the doll like running around upstairs.
Yeah.
So I got a lot of like Sid the Dummy vibes.
That makes it worse, doesn't it? Ugh.
I wasn't trying to make it worse. Sid the Dummy didn't end up being terrible.
No, he was super crass though. I really hated Sid the Dummy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I really did. Everything was like dames and broads, and I just wasn't like, I just didn't think it was funny. But that episode gave us that. Oh God, this is a total Buffy tangent. But that episode did give us Cordelia's horrible song. And you remember Giles was like staring at her, and he was like, "There's something wrong with your hair," and she had to run away. It was an amazing Cordelia episode.
Yeah, well, there are so many of them that are. But yeah, sorry for the mini Buffy tangent, guys.
Sorry.
Usually those are, well, I'm not that sorry, let's be honest. Okay, so what other kind of overall like thoughts or initial thoughts and stuff like that did you have?
I was a little bit, this is kind of more of an overall, not really a first thought. I'm a little bit confused about the ring, and maybe you can help me with that. I don't know, like, the details of what it does for Doc. Like, Clutie's dead, Doc is coughing, so, like, is the ring even still working? Like, the cut on his face was there, it didn't heal very quickly. I don't know if the ring is still keeping him healthy or stopping him from aging, or if he just believes that it's stopping him from aging. And I wonder if he has his suspicions. I think he has to, because he went out to the salt flats. I was grateful that Doc addressed the terms of his curse again over dinner with Wynonna, as pertaining to like the fact that he could not kill Clutie without killing himself, to sort of reiterate that for the audience so that we all understood like the loophole that he's standing in right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I need a little clarification on what exactly the ring is doing, because I don't think it's working anymore, and I think he knows it's not working anymore, and I think that's why he went to the salt flats. So I don't understand why he wouldn't just give Wynonna the ring. You know what I mean? Like, because I don't think it's doing anything anyway. What do you think?
There's probably a lot to that. I think you're right, and we talked about it before. Generally, because most of the time when you look at any show, book, movie, whatever, where there's magic involved, anytime you have a curse or spell or whatever, the caster dies, it usually goes away. So you've got that. We know that Doc is coughing again. We know that something drove him to the salt flats. So I think, and like I said, we talked about this before, I think you're right. I think the ring isn't working. Maybe he is still hoping it is.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a slow, like maybe it's not like it hasn't stopped all at once. Maybe it's kind of dialed back a little bit. And maybe because we learned last episode, Constance tells Robert that the ring heals the sick and delays death. So maybe the coughing wasn't really much of anything. Maybe if it heals the sick, maybe it healed his tuberculosis, and there's some other thing going on that's making him think that it's not working. Like, maybe that cough was just a cough. Maybe he felt Constance because we know they had that connection. Maybe it was delayed. Maybe he was waiting until he had a chance. But there's also other things in here, like he made a point to tell Rosita, make sure you befriend the Earp sisters because they'll protect you and I'm not going to be around forever. So it's a lot of, it's hard to gauge what he's thinking.
Yeah.
Because it could be a lot with how the ring was making him feel, and it doesn't make him feel that anymore. True, so he's connecting that with I'm dying again. But maybe he's not dying again. Or, like, maybe it's not the tuberculosis again. Because he was very sick. So if the ring stopped working and kind of puts him back to where he was before, he would be very sick right now, and he's not.
Maybe he's just not feeling quite as, vital.
Right. So it's maybe something like that. So I don't know, but I think it's, if he doesn't think the ring is working, that doesn't necessarily mean he'll be willing to give it up, because he doesn't really know a lot. And also, I have a hard time believing that if he thought the ring wasn't working, I don't think he'd tell Wynonna about it. So some of that could have been, we know the doll did something. It amplified a lot of, like, it didn't create those arguments. It didn't create that fight, but it kind of amplified a lot of those feelings, I guess. That's kind of the impression we were given. So maybe his desire to kind of protect Wynonna from the knowledge that he's dying sooner than she thinks or whatever got amplified or something like that. And he didn't want to tell Wynonna, I think the ring's not working anymore. So something there got launched into, I have to really fight to keep this because I have to keep this from her.
And so, kind of in the same vein, another question that I had was, like, Doc telling Jeremy that Rosita isn't what he thinks. That kind of surprised me. I suppose, we can kind of chalk it up to his dragon sense or something like that. But I was like, well, does he know she's a revenant? How did he know that? How long has he known that? Or does he just have the sense that she's not someone that he can completely trust? What do you think about that?
That caught me too. Because especially, and I'm going to end up talking about this a lot sooner than I thought, so bear with me. We've seen dolls. He is kind of like, he's very black and white with the revenants. It's, you got to take them out. They're a revenant, you got to take them out. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So I feel like if he knew that Rosita was a revenant, he would do something about it. But maybe he's not, because as far as he knows, she's the only one that can replicate his serum, and that's why he asked Jeremy to do it. So I don't know why he wouldn't necessarily say something, unless it's, the serum, and also Rosita's keeping Doc away from Wynonna.
Yeah.
Because I got hung up on that too. Like, if he knows, I want to know, like, how. Because Black Badge doesn't seem to have as much knowledge on who the Revenants are as, like, Waverly did. Waverly seems to be the one who had the most knowledge at any one point as to who all the Revenants are, and that's long gone.
Right. So,
I don't know. Like, but that line, I had that written down in my notes, and I'm sure it'll come up, because it might result in, dolls trying to, like, tell Wynonna to kill her, and Wynonna being like, no, because that's another thing, and I'm jumping the gun on this thought. So, but one thing that struck me is at the end when Rosita asks Waverly if she's going to give her a head start with Wynonna, because Rosita's like, well, shoot, the heir is going to know and I got to run. And Waverly tells her no, not because she doesn't think that Wynonna wouldn't kill her, but because she doesn't want to tell Wynonna that she thinks she's half revenant. And I thought that was, I think anybody who's looking at this and saying that Wynonna is going to find out that Rosita's a revenant and then automatically pull out Peacemaker to shoot her doesn't understand Wynonna.
Yeah.
And I think that's been clear with Waverly. Waverly doesn't really get being the heir. Like we saw it a couple episodes ago with Jonas. Like, Waverly was like, well, she's a murderer. That's what she does, basically. And Like, we've seen Wynonna be compassionate. She didn't kill Earl in, what was it, episode 3? She could have, she didn't. She let him just kind of, like, she could have killed him and sent him back to hell or whatever. And I think since Black Badge has made that promise to, like, end the curse another way, I don't think that she's necessarily going to be that hesitant or that quick to go after revenants. Like, she doesn't want to be a killer.
Yeah.
So I had to say that because it was like one of those things that was kind of like, no, like I saw a couple of people talking about it, like Wynonna was going to go in and kill Rosita, and it's like, no, that's not who Wynonna is.
I think you're right, and I think it is I don't think it's an accurate like depiction of Wynonna or who she is or how she carries the curse, but I think that we can kind of understand a lot of that as Waverly's like worst fear at this point. Having to tell her sister, who is the heir, who is cursed to put all revenants in the ground, that she is part revenant. I think that's where a lot of it was coming from. I think a lot of it was just Waverly's own terror at having to tell her sister that. I don't think that she believes that Wynonna would kill her necessarily. That's not what I'm saying. I think that she knows that it is not going to be good news, and she's just dreading it, so she doesn't want to have anything to do with any conversation that gets close to that topic right now.
No, definitely. I agree, and I agree. A lot of it's Waverly
projecting.
Yeah, and thank you. I was kind of going off on it. Yeah, a lot of it's Waverly projecting. So, like, a lot of the, like, but I still, like, it was other fans talking about, oh, like, Wynonna's going to go in and kill her, and it's like, no, that's not how that works.
Yeah.
She's not going to, especially, she has a friend, maybe, potentially, in Rosita right now. Like, she's not some stranger. And Rosita was another victim of circumstance. So we've got one more.
Right.
Who was, and I might end up going on a Wyatt Earp tangent as well. Because, this is, Rosita is the second victim of circumstance in as many episodes.
Yeah.
And the fourth revenant who hasn't exactly been what she's seemed. Fourth-ish. And I think, and I've talked about this before, that one of the running themes for the series is that there are shades of gray. Like, not everything is black and white. And I think that we're going to learn that, and we're getting there, that Wyatt Earp was not as good as people think.
Totally.
Or as people like to believe. Because you have to wonder, and I think, I want to say, like, because Doc has said some things about, like, hasn't he? I gotta learn to look this stuff up before I start, like, about, like, Wyatt being a little self-righteous.
Yeah, I think that's...
And, you just look at, Wyatt, Robert told Wyatt to shoot him, and Wyatt did it. But, he still shot his friend. And then you look at Rosita, he shot somebody who was, Rosita had nothing to do with whatever the guy she was in bed with or whatever the circumstance was, and Wyatt killed her.
Yeah, kind of a guilty by association logic.
Yeah, and I think it's, I think that's going to come in more, and I think we're going to find out with more people or more that we learn about Wyatt's past that he wasn't exactly, like, he wasn't a good guy, like a completely good guy. I think we might learn a lot. I'd like to learn more. I'd like to get I enjoy the flashbacks, honestly, to get little pieces of everything. Or, Rosita could have been lying.
True.
There's that too. But as far as we know, she's a victim of circumstance, and it kind of seems like she's kind of got a lot of herself still. So I saw this a few times, and I thought it too, where, yeah, like, maybe she hasn't been sent to hell as many times as some other people have.
Yeah, I think I was thinking about that when the episode wrapped, and I'm with you on that. Also, she's had all of this time to get all of these degrees and not forget the information that she has learned. So, yeah, maybe she hasn't been. Maybe she's kind of flown under the radar this whole time.
Which is probably fairly easy when the heirs have such a short lifespan.
And there are so many other revenants around causing all of this mischief and attracting attention to themselves. And meanwhile, she's just like studying astrology.
Yeah.
Which I loved. I loved it.
Yeah. Well, the Revenant reveal surprised me. But, because I wasn't expecting her to be a Revenant. I was expecting something about her. That's why I kind of, the astrology thing I kind of liked, because I was expecting something kind of supernatural about her, but I was expecting more along the lines of, a witch kind of thing, some sort of magic user or something like that. I wasn't expecting her to be a Revenant. So I kind of, when they first busted out with the astrology, I was like, oh, hey, that's cool, that's fun. But then finding out that she was a Revenant, I was like, oh, okay then. So that surprised me.
It surprised me too. I saw some reactions online where people were not shocked, or they said they weren't shocked and they suspected this. And I'm on your side here. I definitely expected there to be something extraordinary about her, but I did not expect her to be a Revenant. I didn't.
Yeah. So I was surprised. Pleasantly so, I think. Did you have, now that we're talking about her already, did you have any Rosita thoughts?
I do. I genuinely like Rosita, and I think that she and Waverly make for excellent besties. Rosita is funny and intelligent, and it's hard out there for geniuses, so I'm glad that Waverly found another one. I was firmly in the Roverly Bro TP camp pre-kiss, and I think it's going to be a little trickier going forward, but I believe that they will work it out and that everybody will be adults. I just hope it doesn't stay weird for long, because I don't like that. That's a pet peeve of mine. Everybody just get over yourself and move on kind of a thing. So I hope that there's not weird, angsty stuff around Waverly and Rosita being friends.
It doesn't look like, as far as on their ends, it will be based on the end of the episode. I do appreciate that you just call them Roverly, because one of my friends was actually told me that her wife wanted their shipper name to be Roverly because she was wandering away from her relationship. Like Waverly was.
Yeah, I've seen Roverly and Wazita, and I like Roverly.
I like it too. But I mean, I guess we're going to talk about that kiss, aren't we?
I have a lot to say about it, so go ahead.
I do too. Because there's been a lot in the fandom discussing it, and I think oh gosh. Do you want to start?
Yeah, I can. Okay, so bear with me, you guys. I am not going to defend Waverly's actions. I didn't defend Nicole, sort of, lying to her last week. A betrayal is a betrayal. I'm not here to advocate for anybody. Waverly did kiss a girl who was not her girlfriend. Do I believe that Waverly instantly regretted that decision? Yes, I do. Unfortunately, instantly regretting something doesn't undo it. You've got to deal with it and you've got to work through it. I've seen some serious negativity around this online, and I think that the most important thing to remember is that human beings are flawed and they make mistakes, and loving other people does not make us perfect people, and being imperfect people does not mean that we are unworthy of love. This is something that I firmly believe that the characters will address, and I think that we need to wait and we need to watch the story unfold. Now, here's what I thought was going to happen this week. This is what I thought we were in for. I thought that we would have a way hot heart to heart, where Waverly would explain why she was hurt and Nicole would listen. I thought that we would most likely get some Nicole backstory from Nicole herself. You and I speculated on that last week. And I thought that would work to give us some insight into her decision-making process and reveal a little bit more of her character, which would in turn make it easier for, we the viewers and Waverly to kind of see where she was coming from and ultimately grease the wheel of forgiveness in a way that felt genuine and believable. That's what I thought we were going to get. So instead, what we get is decidedly more human, and I think that's why people had a problem with it. At the police station, we have Nicole and Waverly actively not listening to each other. Everybody being defensive, failing to establish a healthy dialogue, which goes back to what we were talking about earlier. Just a disconnect on so many levels. And we then see Waverly seeking comfort and understanding from an impartial third party, which leads to a momentary indiscretion. And, like I said, people screw up. People have too much champagne. I'm not making an excuse, but I'm not going to make a judgment either. This is the hardest part of what happened for me. This is what I'm currently working through, is that it's far easier to sort of remedy a betrayal when only one person is in the wrong, right? And the burden of forgiveness rests on a single person. So it would have been a lot easier to resolve this if Nicole had just acted poorly and then she had listened and they had talked and we only had to deal with, hurt feelings on one side or a betrayal on one side. I am not rooting for this, and I do not want this to happen. I want to make that perfectly clear. But typically, when a show does not address a wrong and instead places both characters in the wrong, they're doing that because they're setting us up for like a temporary break or a breakup or a cooling off period of some kind. Because any adult can tell you that two wrongs don't make a right. This is a lesson that we learn in childhood. You hit me and I hit you back is not how grown-ups deal with their problems. What I'm worried about happening is sort of like a Delphine Cosima season 3 Orphan Black kind of situation. And I realized that they were broken up at the start of that season, but the constant failure in communication and the breakdowns and the betrayals and the concealing information, all of that had to happen because we, the audience, knew that there was still a lot of love on both sides. So they did that in order to push this pairing apart. They had both, characters sort of acting out of concert with each other. And I'm not saying that Way Hot is going to go that way or that they're doomed or that they're going to split or anything like that. And as heartbreaking as Orphan Black season 3 was for co-fiend shippers, we saw a thawing by the end of that season, right before Delphine died for a little bit. But what I'm saying is that I'm very wary.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, right. Spoiler. Oh, I'm sorry. Spoiler alerts. But what I'm saying is that I'm very wary of like when the two wrongs method is used, because it's typically used to push people apart, not to bring them together. The one thing, which I know sounds really unlikely, and I'm setting you up to talk about Nicole here, so you're welcome. The thing that actually bodes really well for us is that at the end of the episode, they put Nicole in immediate danger when not Mercedes showed up at the door. So that's actually a really good sign for shippers, because there's nothing like almost dying to make a character sort of evaluate what's really important and focus on what matters, and sort of make you not sweat the small stuff. So I'm hopeful that obviously that Nicole does not die, and that she does not get her face stolen, and that both Nicole and Waverly sort of come out of this realizing how much they mean to each other, and we could just put this mess behind us and wrap it up in a conversation or two about consent and what is expected in a relationship, or how they define monogamy. I'd be down for that. That'd be a really wonderful, healthy conversation to have. I'm kind of hung up on what Not Beth says right before she eats Tucker, and that is that betrayal has consequences. And I just hope these consequences don't drag out for too long.
Yeah, and that was a lot, so...
I know, I'm sorry.
No, don't apologize, please. I just ranted for, it's nice to see, it's nice to let you talk for a long time instead of me talking all the time like I feel like I do. Because I had thoughts about, and I have had many a conversation about this kiss. And I also, I'm with you with a lot of what you said, especially a lot of times this is setting up for a breakup. And I am not going to be, I ship it. So before anybody jumps down my throat, I'm not going to be upset if they break up for a little bit or whatever. Like that's not going to upset me. I also do think that setting Nicole up to get hurt is could push this in a lot of different directions. Waverly doesn't talk about stuff like she should, and for somebody who got so upset at Nicole lying to her, or at least that's what she's like, Waverly keeps things all the time.
True.
She kept being possessed from everybody for 7 weeks. She kept, she's keeping this thing about not knowing who her parents are to herself for the most part. She's keeping Rosita's, the fact that she's a revenant to herself. And I know she has her reasons, and I could go into a very lengthy, character analysis of Waverly, or a lot of them actually, but mostly Waverly, as to why. And so I thought that was interesting how she kind of settled in on the lying thing, but it ended up being about control. That was her whole thing. It was a control thing. But the couple digs at her about lying really threw me, because it's Waves, you aren't an innocent party as far as not lying to your partner or not lying to family or whatever, just throwing it out there. But minor tangent. So where was I going with that? I think this could also, it might lead to them not having the conversation that we want them to have. And since Waverly felt bad, instantly knew it was wrong, instantly regretted that kiss, whatever, she may not tell Nicole at all, especially with Nicole in danger. Because that could go one of two ways. That could either end up with her just spilling, or it could end up in her saying something like, she's hurt, I don't want to tell her right now, which could cause more problems down the line, because it's once again not being honest, and could force them apart. So I think Nicole being in danger could be good, like you were saying, but it could also be a Band-Aid and cause more problems.
I'm really upset that you've said this, because it's a very good point. And I think that the thing that would upset me more than anything, to come out of this, would be if after they get her out of danger, then there's that whole, it was never the right time. I would be so mad about that. And I didn't think about it until you said it. And now I'm angry.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Sorry.
It's okay.
And I do want to talk about the kiss, my thoughts on it. Because like I said, I've had a lot of conversations. I think one of my friends who is very in the this was cheating party, and fairly unforgivable when you cheat on a partner, regardless of what it is, if it's just a kiss or whatever, pointed out that a lot of the conversations people are having about whether or not this was cheating and about this kiss are very focused on Waverly and not about how Nicole would feel and whether or not Nicole would consider it cheating. So I wanted to throw that out there just because that is something to think about. And I think it's very easy to be focused on Waverly because she has so much going on. It's very easy to rationalize why she did what she did. Waverly is feeling a ginormous loss of control, and with what's going on in her life, she's young. I mean, there's a lot of factors that you can argue, and intention as well, because I think this was not, Waverly wasn't going in thinking of anything like this with Rosita. And I think intention in some regards matters. So, And I love Waverly. And like I said, I can really kind of wrap my head around what led to her doing this, what led to this happening. And it's hard to just be like, yep, Waverly's a big old cheater. Because I don't think she is.
I don't think she is.
But I think it is, we do have to remember that a lot of this conversation is being centered around Waverly instead of Nicole. Because going back to, two wrongs don't make a right and stuff like that, Nicole messed up. Nicole has been trying to apologize. Waverly is way overreacting, and again, it's because of Waverly's feeling a huge loss of control. She spent 7 weeks being possessed and not having control of things. She's just found out that and she's 21 years old. There's a lot going on up there. She has a lot going on, so it's very easy to just focus on Waverly and just, well, Nicole did a bad thing, but that's not it. Nicole, they're still together. Nicole was trying to communicate and work this out, and Waverly's not being the most mature human being right now. And I've mentioned that a lot. She's not that mature. She's 21 years old. And when it comes to personal relationships, she's pretty immature. And so I think it's important to remember that as well, that we do have to consider, when we're making the, oh, it's not cheating argument, we do have to consider, would Nicole consider it cheating? And, even trying to put yourself in those shoes, I don't know what I would do if I were Nicole. And, I've been in a position where I found out that somebody I loved cheated. And then there was a whole series of extenuating circumstances that I found out a lot later on. But this is not about my personal life. I'm just saying, it's very hard to put yourself in those shoes, and it's very easy to be like, well, I know what I'm going to do, but you don't. You don't know how you're going to react. So
yeah, I'm with you. I still love Waverly, and like I said, I'm not trying to cast judgment on her, and part of that is because I was young and irresponsible, and I made some really bad decisions. I am a totally different person now at almost 31 than I was when I was 21 years old. I'm almost unrecognizable at this point. And there are a million things that I did that were not great ideas. And there are, a few things that I would undo if I could. And I think the second it happened, this became one of the things that Waverly would undo if she could. And I'm also with you. I do not think that this was premeditated in any way. I don't think that she had those feelings at all when she got into the hot tub. I think it was a hot tub and there was some champagne and somebody said the right thing and she was a little bit drunk and something very regrettable happened. And that's not me saying that there should not be consequences for that. Right. I believe that there should be, and I believe that there should be some serious, conversations had between the two of them, going forward about what's expected. But to your point, we don't know that they have ever had that conversation. And if they haven't, now they know they need to.
Oh, definitely. And again, talking about growth, that's why I come back to, I'm not going to be mad if they break up. And I've had this feeling, relationships have angst, people break up and get back together after there's growth. And I would not be upset if they broke up and needed some time to grow. What would upset me, they do get back together and it's just not good. But no, I mean, because I think it's, sometimes you don't always grow when you're with a person in the way that you need to.
True. Sometimes
you need to break up with somebody and take some time and learn and grow. I mean, she jumped from Champ to Nicole. And Nicole is a lot more emotionally mature and intelligent than Champ is. Champ has the emotional intelligence of a log. So
don't offend logs like that, Catherine.
I'm sorry.
What has a log ever done to you?
I don't know. It's going to come at me now, though. I'm going to trip over the next one I see. No, it was the first thing that came to mind. Somebody find a better analogy then. No, so I think I'm not going to be mad about it. And that doesn't mean I don't ship Waverly and Nicole. It means I understand the importance of personal growth. And that sometimes it takes being broken up to do that.
I agree with you. If they had to break up and take some time apart to grow into the people that they need to be for themselves, and then figure out whether or not, the people that they become are people that can be together, I think that is honest storytelling and believable, and I would have absolutely no problem with that. I do like that Nicole tried to own up to her mistake after Not Beth left the room when they were in the police station. Waverly was talking about lying as a kindness, and Nicole said, "Yep, I tried that with you, and look at us now." And I don't know that was the best way to put it, but she's not hiding her mistakes. She's not refusing to look at them, and I really liked that. I don't think that she was in a place to be receptive to what Waverly was saying. And I think that, there's a time and a place, and that was not it. But I also think that she's taking this so hard, Waverly being mad at her, that I don't think that she had much control over when that bubbled over. And I was sympathetic to that too. But I liked that side. I liked her, confronting the problem, whether or not it was the time, and saying, yeah, and I did this, and now here we are. It's, again, very adult.
Mm-hmm. And this popped into my head, and I talk about Nicole's wardrobe a lot, and I know that. But note that when that bubbled over, when she got kind of snippy, she was in uniform. And I think a lot of time, we see a little bit of a different Nicole. Because she has to be. When she puts on her uniform, when she puts on her armor, she has to be different. She has to be a police officer. And so I think, that was part of why we saw that bubble over, why we saw that happen when it did, because she has to, that uniform kind of puts her in a different attitude, puts her in a different mood, and I think that's something notable too, because we've seen her get slightly frustrated, and it's frequently when she's always in uniform, but random observation.
No, it's a really solid observation, especially because this season we've seen her out of uniform more than we have, for the entire show. Within the last couple episodes, she's been dressed down a lot more, and I think you're completely right about that. I think when she puts on that uniform, she is a cop, and I think that absolutely changes her attitude. It's a really solid point.
Thank you. I like it when I have those randomly. No, because it is. They also, I've seen a couple of people point it out. They keep putting her in blue, and I kind of love that. That people are noticing that, and that there might be something there as far as the number of times, Nicole's in blue a lot, and she's in cooler colors, but mostly blue. So there's probably something notable there, but.
Could be a literal cop thing, like the thin blue line sort of a thing. Or it could be like true blue, like when somebody is true blue, they're like a stand-up person, somebody to be counted on, somebody to be trusted.
Yeah, it could be. I just appreciated the number of people, because of course, when people notice that, then there's lots of pictures, and I appreciate all the pictures of Nicole that pop up on my Twitter timeline. So, yeah, she was in blue at the end of the episode when, that terrible thing that might end up, when she just opened her door and, to a widow, which she must have gotten Waverly's text. So I'm curious as to why she seemed to be, I guess she doesn't have a lot of friends in Purgatory, so the likelihood of somebody visiting her at home was probably pretty slim if it wasn't Waverly. But, she sounded kind of, just her tone, it was, kind of excited, and if I had gotten a text like that from somebody I was seeing, I wouldn't really necessarily be that excited to have them at my door the next morning.
Okay, so...
So I thought that was kind of interesting, because we know she read the text, and it's did Waverly, text her before she left the bar or something, and saying, hey, I want to talk, or...
That is probably what happened. But when I watched it, the thing that I saw was a thing that I do, and I was just picturing Nicole not able to get over it, not able to let it go because things are up in the air, and she just wants to make peace and make everything okay, because I think that very much is who Nicole is. And I think her immediately opening the door, fully expecting Waverly to be on the other side, was heartbreaking, not just because Mercedes is absolutely going to make her pay for it, but the smile on her face, I fully believe that she was doing that thing where you're walking in big circles around your place and you're having a complete conversation with somebody who is not there because you cannot quit replaying everything that has happened in your head, and then a knock at the door and it's like it can only be this person. You know what I mean? Like there's nothing else you want more in that moment than to actually have this conversation and put it all to bed. And she's just so sure that it's Waverly that she just opens the door up and she doesn't check. And I think that's because it's the only thing that Nicole has been thinking about since they started fighting. And I think she has been just waiting for that moment when Waverly shows up at her door and she can finally really apologize. And that's what killed me.
Yeah, thanks for that. I mean, like, I agree with you. Like, I don't see, and I think I would react a little bit different, so that's why it's kind of like, I don't know. But yeah, no, I have feelings. You know me, I adore Nicole so much. So it's just that whole, I gasped.
You are such a jerk. Why would you send me a photo of that? Oh my, you guys, here I am talking about how what Nicole just did by opening up the door is me, and revealing that, like, I obsessively replay conversations in my head until I get an opportunity to make them right. And she sends me a frickin' screen cap of Nicole's hopeful little face when she opens up the door. Catherine, so I feel really attacked right now.
I'm only a little sorry about that.
God, that was so unfair.
I mean, I took the screenshot.
Yeah.
And if you guys want me to tweet it out, I will. Just let me know.
Timing is everything, and that was perfect. I'm less angry now. I'm going to give you that one. That was really good.
Well, I mean, I can send you more too if you're that mad. Not of Nicole's face. That was a kind of difficult one to get. But no. I couldn't resist. You were talking about the face, and I had a screenshot of the face. So
unfair.
Sorry.
Oh my.
Anyway, but yes, I agree with you. Like that's a very valid thing that she was probably like, who knows if the poor woman's been sleeping that much and she's got all this nonsense going on, and she has no idea what happened with Tucker either.
Yeah.
Like, if she and Waverly aren't talking, and like it's not like she and Rosita talk, she has no idea that Tucker was still alive, and that that Waverly was in danger that night. So she's probably feeling some sense of relief that Tucker was gone. And then there's that too, which they probably should have been able to figure out a little bit sooner. Like, I know the body was burned pretty bad, but Tucker had a recent gunshot wound in his shoulder that they probably would have been able to look at.
He could have shot that motorist though. And actually,
yeah,
I'm really glad that you brought that up, because I never ever thought that I would say this ever in a million years, but Tucker actually gave me two of my favorite moments in this week's episode, and I'm going to qualify that statement vigorously. So the first one was when Tucker said, "I'm the reason people shouldn't pick up hitchhikers." That line was easily the most menacing line in the episode, maybe one of the most haunting lines that the show has ever used. And Tucker has several despicable things that he says to Waverly, to be sure. Mm-hmm. He reaches a new level of entitled and toxic and disgusting in this episode. But the reason that line stood out so much was all that it manages to accomplish. It does it with one line, and then they don't beat a dead horse. They just move past it because it gives you everything you need. It harkens back to every horror movie we've ever watched, and it tells us, yes, and it tells us a whole story about an unsuspecting motorist on a dark, lonely road picking up a seemingly harmless, down-on-his-luck young man, only to be murdered and disfigured for this random act of kindness. We got the whole backstory on that dead body with one perfect line from Tucker.
That some people missed.
Oh, seriously? Oh, well, you're welcome, everybody.
Yep.
I loved it.
No, I noticed it in the Facebook group. Somebody was like, did they say anything about the body? And I was like, yeah, Tucker makes a comment about that's why you don't pick up hitchhikers. And the thing that popped into my head was, I listened to My Favorite Murder, the podcast.
Yes. And
so one of their things is, F politeness. So that was one of the things that popped into my head. It's like, yeah, you don't pick up somebody who's, I couldn't take Tucker seriously with the frostbite nose and I just couldn't. I'm like, dude, you don't have half your nose. He's saying all of the creepy misogynistic things, and I'm just like, all right, Rudolph,
yeah,
frostbite,
yeah, he looked as ridiculous as he sounded disgusting. And it
was good makeup, though.
It was good makeup. I am so glad that not Beth got to eat Tucker alive, you guys. When we first saw that body, I was tweeting for, the Make Your Peace podcast account, and I was like, if you mean to tell me that Tucker got murdered and I didn't get to see it, I am going to throw a fit. And then at the end of the episode, not Beth eats him. She's a literal man-eater who, devours the misogynist. It was brilliant. And I just want to give a shout out to Alexandra Zeroni, who, and I'm sorry if I mispronounced that name, but she's the one who, she's the writer for this episode. That line was perfect about the hitchhiker, and having not Beth eat this horrible man was just everything I needed after an entire season of barely tolerating him. So thank you. Thank you to the brilliant writer.
I also, because I agree, that was really fabulous. I also appreciated that, Beth and Tucker had a really weird relationship. So I kind of liked the fact that the widow who had stolen Beth's face was the one who ended up taking Tucker out because of their weird relationship,
Yeah, that's a good point.
And, so I thought that was kind of weird, I liked it. I thought it was interesting that the widows kind of went off and did their own things this episode. I don't know where that thought was going. But no, I agree with you. It was pretty perfect.
It was.
And and once again, we assume that that's the end of Tucker. But he might come back, who knows?
One thing that I'm really afraid of happening, and I felt a little bit better after she ate him, because I was like, maybe it won't happen. I really don't want Sheriff Clutie to get resurrected into Tucker's body. I can't stress to you how much I don't want that to happen.
Oh my gosh.
Sorry.
I didn't even think about that. That would be terrible, especially with the frostbite. I can't take anything seriously with the frostbite face.
Yeah.
Which, sorry for people who get frostbite, but, bundle up.
Bundle up.
Sorry, now I'm victim blaming people who get frostbite. I'm not, guys, I'm sorry. This just went downhill quickly. Well, we just lost viewers. Listeners, not viewers. Anyway. No, oh my gosh. I didn't even think about that, Lara.
I know. I
just assumed he'd, come back in his own body, not, borrow somebody else's.
Well, I don't know how close his magic mirrors the widow's magic, but I feel like he is a source of their power. So I feel like their power is a reflection of his own, but I don't know that. So I'm just very worried that Sheriff Clutie is going to be walking around in a Tucker face. I have no proof. It's just a worst case scenario kind of thing.
That is a worst case scenario kind of thing.
I know. I'm sorry.
I don't want to see him anymore.
I don't either. Hopefully not. Beth just ate it all, and there's nothing to bring back. She was really hungry.
Thank you. They always seem to be.
True.
Like, not Mercedes was all like, delivery. And it's like, do you really want to eat dolls? Like, that might do some weird things to your system. It could be, like, really severe heartburn. You don't know.
Oh my god.
I'm sorry, I couldn't
resist. I like that.
Thanks.
I hope so. I hope he doesn't go down smoothly. I hope he goes down with a fight.
Exactly. But no, I didn't even, because I didn't even think about that with Clooney.
I'm going to give you
having serious thoughts.
I'm sorry. I'm going to give you something happy to think about, because when I saw it, I immediately thought of you and I tweeted at you. I thought the belly high five that Wynonna gave herself was totally adorable, and they followed that up with the baby bump apology. So there was just a lot of her like high-fiving the baby and like stuff like that I just immediately I thought Catherine is really going to like this.
And I did, because it's like, I appreciate that we're seeing some ways that Wynonna is embracing the baby bump. And, like, you just think about, like, if she's doing that with just the bump, like, think about, like, she's gonna be kind of fun, like, with the kid as far as, like, stuff like that. Like, I don't know. I love those moments. And I like how when she, like, baby bumped Doc out of the way, he was like, "Your condition!" Like, he's so worried and adorable and old-fashioned.
Yeah, she was quick to remind him too. In one of my favorite quotes of the episode, "I'm pregnant. I'm not helpless." Mm-hmm. And I love it because right after that she goes on to talk about, "Don't shoot any of my decorative pillows. I'll never find the right color combination again." That was unrelated.
Loved
very fun.
That line so much. Oh man, I love that line so much. Because Waverly says something earlier about her decorative pillow collecting, how it's like when Wynonna asks for the house to herself, and Waverly's just like, nesting again?
Yeah.
Or more nesting, and it's like the decorative pillow thing, and it just made me laugh like really hard. Since we're still talking, or since we just kind of started talking about it, do you want to go into favorite quotes?
Yeah. Another like really good one was. Two more that Wynonna had that I loved were you think because I'm the size of a cheeseburger stuffed with a baby cheeseburger means that I'm really hungry right now? Like that was awesome. And I really liked when the painting started burning and she was like, "You kept the receipt, right?" And I almost wonder if that was scripted or if that was Mel.
Oh yeah, I want to know that. Because she's so good with like off the cuff things. I liked with great belly comes great responsibility.
That was, yeah.
Wynonna had a lot of good ones. The scene where Doc picks up the rattle, that whole thing.
I know.
Where he's like, "This is sweet." And she's like, "Who buys one maraca?" And he's like, "It's a rattle for the baby." And then she goes, "Oh, they shake things. Oh God, it's gonna have hands." And just, like, Wynonna remembering, like, where the baby's gonna be coming out of, and that babies have things like hands, and, like, it's a person, it's a tiny person that she's growing. Those make me laugh so hard.
I also really liked when Waverly was, like, sparring with them. Well, one, I like that they are training Waverly in combat because she's made it very clear that she's not going to sit on the sidelines while her family's being attacked. So that's really
time.
Yeah, that's really cool. I like that they're doing that. And I really loved Waverly's line about the widows where she was like, "I still can't get over Clooney being their sister wife. Their outfits are so fiercely non-polygamist."
Yeah, that one was a good one too. Like, there were so many in the beginning, it was like I missed a couple, and I was very grateful that I was watching with my headphones on so I could hear everything, because sometimes I miss things just because I can't hear. And, yeah, that one I really liked. And then when with the burned body, and, Nicole mentions he's allergic to penicillin, and Waverly's like, "I'm 99% sure that's not what killed him."
Yeah.
I really, 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 really liked Rosita's little perfection is overrated monologue.
That was good.
And I mean, back to the kiss, because apparently I can't let that go. Like, who wouldn't have kissed her after that? Like, I don't, like, getting wrapped up in the moment. I like if you're drinking. She just says that. Like, who wouldn't have kissed her?
You got champagne. A woman in a bikini is explaining champagne to you and the magic. No, I feel you completely.
I know. She's just, like, no.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think the stars aligned to sort of make that a perfect moment to do something that you ultimately regret. But yeah, I'm not trying to get too deep into that because like I said, I know a lot of people are feeling really hostile towards Waverly right now, but I'm just not, you guys. It's not because it wouldn't be a thing. If it happened in my relationship, it would be a thing. But it's also, it's between those characters. So I just, yeah. And I mean, out of context, it's just a really funny moment. So, sorry. I thought it was funny.
And then I had a couple more lines.
Good. Get us off the kiss. Please.
Yeah, I was. Sending you a mental hug. And then Dolls is just like, not now, not while I'm in tactical. And Rosita's if a girl wants to flash some thigh, ain't nobody's business but her own.
Yeah.
And then Wynonna, when she finally sees the doll that has been like around the whole time, and why did they not notice that before? But sorry, we already have a Dolls.
Yeah.
Made me crack up. So once again, it was excellent writing with the one-liners and everything. So I really liked that.
I also really liked Jeremy watching cricket with Dolls and talking about sports he just knows nothing about. I thought that was just like a really sweet Jeremy moment because he's a mess. And I love any time they just let him be a ridiculous mess.
Yes. And I mean, like, he has a crush on Dolls and he has a crush on Doc, and it's just kind of like, I think Dolls is a little bit professional and personal. Like, I think he's a lot of mixed with Dolls, whereas with Doc it's just like he has a crush. So I don't know, I just like how they deal with him with that. I really do. And he's adorable and I love him. I love all of his he's such a nerd and I adore him. So, I feel like we're forgetting to talk about something really big.
I think, like, one thing that I want to touch on a little bit more that we sort of talked about a little at the beginning because we were talking about Doc's ring is the actual argument between Doc and Wynonna.
Yes, we forgot to talk about the entire A storyline.
Yeah. I have one more note chilling out over here, and it's like one of the biggest plot points of the episode. But I liked that, like, neither party was really being fair. I mean, I didn't like it, but I liked that, like, it wasn't just one of them being irrational. Because I love Wynonna, and we're all going to back her up no matter what. But, like, the simple fact of the matter is, she did not have a plan. She just came in and demanded the third seal, and she was going to smash it and force a conversation or a confrontation with the widows that she was not equipped to deal with. And Doc even makes the point that in order to destroy the seal, she would need to wield some very serious dark magic, which she doesn't know how to do. And she was right about what she was saying too. You know, she was like, all right, so let me get this straight. You'll do anything for love, but you won't do that. You won't give me your ring. Like, I'm
sorry.
I'm sorry too, but I wrote it down and then I had to use it.
Yeah, thank you, Meatloaf.
The legend. Anyway, but I liked that. I liked that, you know, they were both making really solid points to each other. If you were only listening to one half of the argument, you would be like, oh, that's sound. But they both had very valid points. You know, Doc was, you know, she laid it out. This is the third seal. I need it. I have to take care of this. And he's giving it right back to her. Like, you don't have a plan. You can't just rush into this. This is a very serious demon you're talking about bringing, you know, back to this earth. So I liked that they were sort of, you know, both kind of wrong.
Yeah. And I think it says a lot that, you know, they started, you know, kind of to apologize to each other. And, like, you know, what was said. And it was both an acknowledgement that it was how they were feeling. And while it was harsh and maybe came across, like, they both kind of acknowledged, like, you know, Dolls tried to be like, well, it was a doll. And she's like, was it? Like, they were kind of very upfront about the fact that it's like, it was kind of harsh or what, but it was, they do make valid points with each other. And Doc is a lot of talk with some things, especially like, you know, because he is sitting there going, I'll do anything, but he's also trying to be rational because Wynonna is trying to go off. Like, she's in, I gotta protect my family, and not thinking. So Doc had to be kind of the voice of reason while also having some self-preservation. So, like, it was a lot of, it was very important conversations to be had. So.
And I get why she's so gung-ho about it. You know, I think that she firmly believes that if she can bring Sheriff Clutie back and she can kill him, that she will end the curse. And I get that she wants, that is almost a nesting task for her to accomplish. You know what I mean? Like, she wants this baby to be born without the restrictions that were put on her. She doesn't want it to stand to inherit some god-awful curse. So it's almost like, you know, like a pregnancy checklist item, like, and, you know, break the Earp curse before my baby comes into the world. Like, yeah. I get it, but it doesn't change the fact that she did not have a game plan.
Right, and she needs one. And of course, you know, now that she has a plan to wait for a plan and wait until Doc's next to her, that's not what's going to happen.
Probably not.
Like, we know this is shaping up to a big problem. And, we're not going to get this coming out the way Doc wants it to. And I think we're going to get more of a half-baked plan, and it's going to be hard. And, you know, Doc's lack of faith in her was a little not cool either. It was a little not cool too, but he also kind of, his relationship with Wyatt is kind of like, well, if Wyatt couldn't take him out, how could anybody else?
Yeah, there's some... As much as I think he does occasionally criticize Wyatt, or he did have his falling out with him, I think he really idolizes him a lot too. And I think that's where that was coming from.
He loves him, and I think not completely platonically.
Yeah, you're probably right.
I mean, I know I watch with gay goggles, but I don't think I said this last week. I was thinking it last week, and I know I typed it up in the first draft of my recap, and it was then taken out. There's like some subtext there that may or may not have been me wearing gay goggles. But, I don't know. There's, Doc and Wyatt definitely, like, they had a special relationship.
Yeah, even Robert kind of sounded like he was crushing on him a little bit. Like, it's not just you. Like, I heard it too.
Yeah.
I mean, I suppose it could just be hero worship. I don't know. I live my life with gay goggles. I don't know. I'm not one to judge.
It's very hard. So, we'll find a straight person to talk to. They'll set me right about this. I don't need to listen to them about anything else. And now I've alienated straight audience.
It's kind of funny that you're like, I'm conducting a poll. It consists of one question, and I don't want to hear anything else.
Yes. What do you think the relationship between Doc and Wyatt was? You start to give me something else. No. Anyway, is there anything big that we're really missing?
I don't think so. I think we cleared out my list.
We cleared out my list because I didn't have much of one, and it was a lot of Waverly and Rosita. So I had a very long track mind, apparently. I think we did.
Yeah.
Was there anything, small things that we?
No, I don't really have anything else.
I don't have anything glaring either. Of course, I always say that, and then, like, the next day I'm like, oh, I should have talked about this.
Yeah.
But, alright.
Yeah, if we've missed anything glaring, you guys, or if there's something that you were really hoping that we were going to talk about that we didn't, you know you can hit us up on Twitter, and we hope that you do. We see your messages, and we try to respond to those whenever possible. So if there's anything that you really wanted to talk about that we forgot, just, hit us up.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, because we always appreciate it. We love getting the feedback, and we love it when you guys let us know what you're enjoying and have theories of your own that you share with us. We definitely we read everything, and I know at least one of us gets back fairly quickly. We tag team on the Twitter account, so. There is, since that kind of wraps us up for the episode, there is one thing I did want to talk about before we end this week's podcast. And it was just a reminder, because with everything that we've been going on with like Waverly and stuff like that, I've seen a lot of stuff on my Twitter timeline that's kind of made me want to remind people. We pride ourselves on being a fandom that's respectful and the nicest fandom and whatever. And I think it's important to remember that that doesn't mean that people can't have a difference of opinion or be critical of the show, and to keep in mind, critiquing something doesn't mean that you're hating on it. And I know there's a fine line there, but just keep in mind, if somebody's being respectful and respectfully discussing an opinion that's different than yours, that doesn't mean that they love the show less. And just please keep that in mind, because I'm seeing a lot of hostility, I think, or a lot of things that can be perceived as hostile. And I just want to remind people that, it's being the nicest fandom means that we pride ourselves on being respectful. It doesn't mean that we're always agreeing with storylines. It doesn't mean that, we're not letting people talk and stuff like that. And I really wanted to, say something, because, it's under no circumstances is it okay to go attacking the cast or the writers or Emily or fellow fans. But we need to remember to let people critique storylines as if they're respectful. Not everybody's going to agree, and the fan base shouldn't be a hive mind. Part of what makes fandom so much fun is different perspective. So I apologize for the lengthy PSA. It's just, I've been thinking about it a lot, and I've been in fandoms that have turned very ugly because people get a little policey. So I just wanted to say something, and so I think that was rambly enough.
I agree with you, dude. Everybody just, be cool with each other. Let everybody have their opinion. And going back to what Catherine said, please do not direct any shade towards these actors. They're just doing their job. Please don't do that.
I think it's very easy to get stuck behind a computer screen and forget that there are real people on the other, reading these messages. And like I said, just be respectful. Don't automatically discount somebody who has a different opinion than most of the fandom as not a fan if they're being respectful to their fellow fans and the cast and everything. So that's my little rambly PSA for today. And I guess we'll wrap it up. So thank you so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed it, rambling aside. And make sure, hit us up with your theories. Like we said, we love hearing them. You can find me on Twitter at cmeushaw, at CMEUSHAW, where I'll share my recaps. You can also find those at 4YE, and the Twitter for that is at the number 4 _ Y _ E, and then the website is the number 4 YE.co.uk. So you can find our Wynonna Earp stuff and some of our other pieces if you're interested. And Laura, where can they find you?
You guys can find me on Twitter at RSMayfair. You can also find me every Friday live tweeting the episode from the podcast's official Twitter, and that is at 4YE_MYP podcast.
Alrighty. Well, that was an exciting episode, and we will see you next week for episode 10.